Right. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for that great introduction. I'm just going to jump into my speech, which they made me write down. That's a very good practice because I never know what I'm going to say until I actually say it. This is very useful. And thank you to the interpreters as well who are here. They're amazing. So a round of applause for them. Before I begin, how many people here were alive in 2004? Raise your hand. Okay, good. A lot of us. As the old folks say, you really had to be there. What a time to be alive. In 2004, Shrek 2 was the biggest film in the United States. Yeah, we got a whoop for Shrek 2. In 2004, Google launched Gmail. In 2004, Apple released the iPod Mini. I'm really dating myself now. American Apparel was the coolest place to shop. Jude Law was voted the sexiest man alive. Beyonce won 5 Grammys. And MySpace was the coolest social media site on the still young internet, being the first one to get over 1 million active users. One other notable thing happened that would change the trajectory of my life, even though it was only notable to me. Because in 2004, I saw Mean Girls. And as with the impressionable young gays of every generation, the foundation of my pop culture vocabulary was sealed forever based on the iconic references of that decade's gay film. In 50 years, I'll be making fetch happen in the nursing home. But there was one more thing that happened in 2004 that changed my life, because that was the year that I went vegan. And while there were several canon events that probably led to me becoming the person I am, going vegan was a singularly radicalizing decision. Because going vegan fundamentally transformed who I expected to be. And I want to share 3 lessons veganism taught me, which strengthened my approach to collective liberation. Lesson number 1. Veganism taught me that true solidarity is unconditional. You see, many people, vegans included, think solidarity is transactional. That in order to stand by a marginalized group, that group has to reciprocate something in kind. Animals have no way to give us anything in return for our material support toward their liberation, nor do they owe us anything. We work for their liberation simply because to liberate someone else is to liberate ourselves. In the words of Aurora Levins-Morales, solidarity isn't a matter of altruism. Solidarity comes from the inability to tolerate the affront to our own integrity, of passive or active collaboration in the oppression of others, and from the deep recognition of our most expansive self-interest, from the recognition that, like it or not, our liberation is bound up with that of every other being on this planet. And that politically, spiritually, in our heart of hearts, we know anything else is unaffordable. And people who work for institutions that oppress us hate that. Those institutions seek to drive division because they know that oppression thrives in isolation. And so when the tsunami of hate crests at me in online spaces, I'm already prepared for that. When neoliberal black voices tell me that being pro-black and pro-Palestine are mutually exclusive, I know that they are liars. When these people rewrite history to convince me that being pro-black meant only taking care of our people, I see that their claims are false. And veganism trained me for that. Because these are the same people who tried to convince me that caring about animals was anti-black. These are the same people who tried to convince me that eating plants was white supremacy. These are the same people who tried to constrain my blackness within the limits of their pitifully small political imagination. But it's always been a cornerstone of the radical black tradition to think and act in ways that are bigger than ourselves. Lesson number 2. Veganism taught me that resistance is a daily practice. People get discouraged from taking big actions because they never planted the seeds by taking hundreds of small actions. Absent of a major spontaneous political event, many of us are too scared to go to a political demonstration, a protest, dare I say a march, because you rarely start at that level. You start with several small acts of resistance that strengthen your mental and emotional resolve to do more. And veganism does this. I don't remember who said it first, but have you ever heard the phrase, how are you planning to change the world when you can't even change what you have for breakfast? And in my life, I find this to be true. Yes, in its simplest form, veganism exists as a boycott of products that steal the lives of living persons and turns them into commodities to be bought and sold while turning the planet that we live on into an uninhabitable wasteland. And I'm not under any impression that my individual act changes the demand for meat, because I recognize that hyper-individualism is a scourge. But after eating a plant-based diet for any amount of time, every other single boycott becomes a walk in the park. And it came as no surprise to me at all to learn that people who won't try seitan and lentils also won't change where they drink their coffee. Even when they learn that Starbucks in their cup is served by prison laborers who are literal slaves. That the people who think that dal tadka and chana masala are beneath them won't be moved by the genocide in Congo or Sudan. They told me, oh, you care about animals, why don't you care about the genocide in Congo? And setting aside the disgusting weaponization of my black siblings suffering as a result of the global tech industry that powers our devices, imagine the audacity to say that to someone who's had the same phone since 2018. I won't even let my job upgrade my computer until it falls apart. The blood of enslaved Congolese children runs through our electronics. It's a travesty of such epic proportions that I can hardly see how any of us upgrade our tech without even considering that every purchase is an indictment on our soul. Learning the true cost of fast fashion, I rarely buy clothes. I don't even like to thrift, since designers have learned how to play on the sympathies of well-meaning consumers by flooding the secondhand market with their cheap garments instead. And veganism taught me that. Each small act of resistance emboldens us. Because when you force yourself to make a decision every single day, multiple times a day, to resist body parts forced on us by mass murdering food giants, you've laid the groundwork for standing in the gap between an undocumented woman and an agent of ICE. Lesson number 3. Veganism trained me to live in the uncertainty. In 2004, I was full of hope and optimism. The world felt full of life and possibility. Now, the world is careening toward climate catastrophe. The future looks like rolling blackouts, water restrictions, and food shortages. The West is falling into a fascist nightmare of racial capitalism, persecution of transgender women, the rollback of reproductive rights, race pogroms led by white supremacists in the streets, and rising meat consumption. Is my hope and optimism intact? Yes, it has to be, because we have no choice. The alternative is to concede the fight before it begins. And that's a long-standing tactic of reactionary ideologues who seek to keep the current system intact, cowing you into defeat by creating the impression that the fight is pointless unless victory can be assured. But I don't know if victory can be assured. And yet we fight. Chris Hedges said, you don't fight fascism because you're going to win. You fight fascism because it is fascist. And that's veganism for me. I don't avoid systemic exploitation because I think my avoidance will bring it to an end. I avoid systemic exploitation because it is willfully evil. Whether the subject of exploitation is a human person or a person of feather, fur, or fin. Veganism wasn't an endpoint for that queer boy in 2004. It was a gateway. It was a gateway that opened him up to a world of prison abolition, disability justice, food sovereignty, reproductive rights, and black liberation. And in 2044, I hope to still not be at rest. Angela Davis said that freedom is a constant struggle. Angela Davis is in her 80s. Even if we win, the forces of injustice don't ever stop. Because they keep trying to pick the locks, we will always have to remain vigilant. And I'll continue to practice my vigilance by eating plants. I'm gonna eat plants, and I'm gonna quote Mean Girls. I'm gonna make fetch happen in 2044. Thank you for listening to me today. I just want to say one more thing before I wrap up and introduce Divi Bamba, who will be joining the stage to play us off. And this isn't part of the speech. It's just something that I wanted to share with you today. According to the Journal of Palestine Studies, 97% of the animal life in Gaza is dead. I just want to take 15 seconds for a moment of silence for those animals. Close your eyes. And I just want to say that if you are silent, or if you are complicit, or know someone who is complicit in the genocide in Gaza, you have so much to answer for. Because what is animal liberation if we don't support the liberation of all animals everywhere on this planet, especially the ones who are living in an occupied land? As I stand here in this place, safe from bombs, from white phosphorus, I can't remain silent about what's happening to my brothers and sisters of all species on the other side of the globe as a result of my tax dollars and my government. I stand here wearing this shirt, and I stand here as a person who supports a free Palestine. Question your leaders in this movement who do not support a free Palestine. Demand that their silence come to an end in every space, in all of your organizing spaces. Always question your leadership and hold them to account. Because I would not be able to stand and look at myself in the mirror if I didn't do that. And just one more thing. There is a person whose name is Hossam. If you follow him on social media, that's HOSAM_VET. He's a vegan. He's a veterinarian. I talk to him once every couple of weeks over WhatsApp. And as Amelia said, none of us are doing enough. None of us are radical enough. He is. He's vegan, and he keeps working on behalf of animals in the middle of a war zone every single day. Mad respect to that. Mad respect to the people who are doing so much more than we are, and challenge me to do more every single day myself. And he's not alone. I support him. I support everyone who is on the ground in Gaza doing important work. Thank you again.